Welcome to round 9, the very final round. I was playing on the white side against Candy Master Thompson, another very experienced player, very dangerous on any day. Like I mentioned, by this point I stopped preparing for for the individual game, so I just went for the setup that I prepared for the tournament in general, with this pseudo Catalan setup with the delayed c4. He went with a very solid, basically playing into the main line Catalan with c4 and d takes c4. Now I'm in a proper mainline Catalan, and I played queen c2, responded with c5, immediately pushing back in the center. And here there are many things you can do. You can take on c4 like I did. You can take the pawn on c5 first, then after the bishop takes, then you take on c4. I decided to take on c4 immediately. The pawn took, my knight took back, which is all fine. And then he played e5, and here I went wrong. And this was, I think, curiously the only game that where I got outplayed from the opening, where I just got a bad position out of the opening. Typically, it doesn't happen to me all that often. I tend to mess up games where I have an advantage rather from the opening. But here I got outplayed. I played knight b5, just a bad move. The knight should come back to b3. But yeah, I was feeling a bit too adventurous. I thought maybe he had done something wrong that I'm trying to punish, but he hasn't, and I have absolutely no rights playing this. And his knight came to c6. And the problem is that now you're not really attacking anything. And so this knight is eventually going to have to come back after he plays a6. And the knights coming to c3 mean this guy will be passive, which will block out this guy, and your development will be messed up. And whenever either of your knights is forced to go to a3, you're going to have a problem, because first off, he has the option of just taking on a3 and ruining your pawn structure. And second off, that piece is just going to be quite passive, because like I mentioned, he's probably going to play a6 at some point. So already I was in a kind of feeling the pressure, and you can't really take on c6 and like go gang ho, because you probably drop something here. It doesn't, it's too, I mean, bishop d7, and your knight starts to look very, very, very problematic. So I volunteered the knight back to c3, but then he played bishop e6, hitting my queen, gaining tempo, queen b5, queen c7, holding the b7 pawn. And I decided to try and put my bishop on e3. Then he played rook a d8. And now it's awkward for me to bring my knight to d2, because he has this annoying knight g4 move, and my bishop would kind of run out of squares. c5 looks very dangerous. He has a3 trying to deflect my queen. So I decided to put my knight on a3 instead. And yeah, this awkward setup, he very swiftly punished. He played quite well. So he went for the immediate knight d4, hitting my queen once again, opening up his bishops. And I mean, he has completed development. All his pieces are in the game now. I have also arguably completed development, but my rooks are still out of the game, and the knight on a3 is not a piece. So I took the pawn, took my knight, came to e4. Basically, I don't mind too much exchanges, but here he snapped on a3 and ruined my structure. And argued that he had an advantage from there, which he indeed does. I mean, black is better here. And he went bishop c4, attacking my queen and my pawn, forcing me to play queen b2 to hold the pawn down. Then he activated his queen with queen e5. My bishop tried to drop back to d3 to defend that guy. And then he played bishop d5, taking over the long diagonal, and asking me why he's not just better. And the answer is that he is. So I played rook a c1, just to try and get my pieces into the game, to try and get something out of it. And here he should slow play it. He already has a better position. He has this very advanced pawn that isn't going anywhere. He has better pawns here on the queen side. He has a better bishop. He has a better queen. So probably he should just exchange the rooks off and just maintain the position as it is. Or maybe he can try and go after my queen side pawns. He tried to attack my king side. I mean, you see this and you kind of want to get your queen here, right? So he played queen e6, just with a very direct gung-ho approach that, you know, I'm going to go to h3 and I'm going to mate you. Also, at the same time, attacks his pawn, I guess. So, I mean, it's not a terrible move, but it gave me an out. And the problem is that the d4 pawn is hanging, and I can just take it. And his calculation was that he's going to play bishop g2. Of course, I mean, and it's a reveal, and then he attacks this guy and he wins, which was initially what I'd also calculated. So I wasn't really considering it. But at the point I realized that if I do pretty much anything else, I'm worse for life, right? If he ever gets to h2, I'm going to have to play f3. And you really do not want to play f3, especially with a pawn here, because this hole on d6 also becomes permanent. You can put a rook here, and then you really do not want to defend this kind of thing. So it was like I have to make queen d4 work, or else I'm worse for the rest of the game. And thankfully, that caused me to look a bit beyond bishop g2, and I realized that bishop g2 is not really a good move. It doesn't solve anything. And the reason is that you have this attack on h7. So your queen can go to h4, and then you're threatening checkmate. So he has no time to take. He has to figure out a way to defend that, and then you can take the guy back. But now the question was, so I played queen takes d4. He played bishop g2 almost immediately. And I have two moves to choose from. You can take first on h7, which is with check. And then, I mean, basically the king has to take back. And then you go queen h4 check. And after the guy goes back, you take the bishop. And you win a pawn in this line. I mean, he's going to take back on e2, so you're a pawn up. Or you can go queen h4 immediately without first going the check, where you're actually threatening checkmate. And then if you have to play like g6, then you win a full piece. I mean, then you don't have to give up your bishop. Or if he plays like queen h6, it's a similar thing. You exchange and you win a full piece. So on the surface, it looked like, oh, maybe queen h4 is better. But then there's a problem there. Maybe you spotted this. That then he goes rook d3. So I mean, he doesn't have to defend the mate. He can just take out the attacking piece. And after e takes, then he takes on f1, he takes back, and material is completely equal here. And I mean, the position is just completely equal. So it was better, and I was happy I found this, that to take first on h7, which I did. So the king took back with queen h4, king g8, then I took back. He took on e2, and I had this position where I'm a pawn up, which, I mean, from the position like 5 moves ago, I had no right to even be equal. So I was happy I was just out of trouble. And although I'm a pawn up, the pawn is kind of stupid. I mean, okay, the extra pawn is this h pawn, which isn't too bad, but my queen side pawns are so stupid. I mean, they are going to drop at some point. So it's just a matter of time. And so I mean, in this position, white really isn't that much better, and black's queen is so much better than mine. His rooks, yeah, also kind of look a little bit better. So if I'm to try and, I mean, claim any sort of advantage, I'll really have to challenge the position of this queen, because the queen is just too active and too central, and my queen is too offside. And what you can, I mean, you can try and make your queen better by like coming into the center, or you can try and make your queen's position make sense where it is. And that's what I decided to do. So I played rook c5. And my idea is that I'm going to play rook h5, and I'm going to threaten it to mate you, so that my queen's position where it is makes sense, so that it's not silly anymore. So he played rook f8, and then I played rook h5. I mean, we had both seen this far ahead of time, forcing him to play queen e4 check to rather now come and exchange my queen off, and then the queens come off, and then rook a5 and a6 is forced, and then I go rook b1, and we had all seen this ahead of time. And yeah, what he should do is that he should play rook d7, hold the pawn down, and I'm going to play rook b2 to stop him from coming here to hit my weak pawns, so that both my pawns are protected. And I'm still a pawn up, but I mean, the position is completely equal. There is almost no way to win, and the reason is that my pawns on the queen side are so stupid. This rook isn't doing anything on the file any longer. It's only defending this guy. So eventually I'll have to figure out a way to try and activate the rook somehow. But the problem is the second I leave, this guy is going to become undefended, and he's going to come and attack the guy somehow. And either I'm forced into passive defense of the a pawn, the a3 pawn, or in which case my rooks will not be active, or I get active rooks and I give up the pawns. So basically, because of the weakness of these double pawns, I don't really have much of an advantage here. So if he had played rook d7, the position would have probably ended up in some kind of a draw. But for some reason that day, it seems he woke up and chose violence. So he went rook d2 instead, going for active counterplay. His idea is that he's very fast in doubling, right? And so it might seem to him like he definitely gets his pawns back. But he must have missed this simple thing that after rook b7 and he doubles, I have rook f5, and I hold this guy down. But more importantly, now my rooks are threatening to do the same thing to him, and he has to waste a move and play f6. If he didn't have to play f6, if he could just take back here, he would be absolutely fine. He'd be threatening to take this pawn back on the queen side, and the pawns would be equal. But because of this minor detail that he has to waste a move on f6, I play rook b6, and now he doesn't have time to take both my queen side pawns, both my queen side pawns any longer. So he takes on a2, but then I take on a6, and I have the extra pawn on the queen side and as well on the king side, and I'm in fact completely winning. So I was quite fortunate that he went for this. He really didn't have to. So here he tried. I mean, he king f7, but I just play g4, g5, and then I trade down on f6 and I win the f6 pawn also probably. So he tried to do something, rook e3, a double attack on this pawn, trying to win it, taking advantage of this pin. I played rook f3, just defending it. If he exchanges one pair of rooks, I'm still fine. I have this extra pawn in addition to the a5 one. So he played rook e4, I played h3, held the pawn down. Then the rook came to e1. Here I'm not sure what he wanted to do. Maybe he wanted to double on the first rank. But I mean, that doesn't work. I just pushed e5, continued with my plan. And yeah, he tried to play rook e6 to protect and then try and exchange down, but then dismissed the tactic g6. Quite straightforward, and he's completely lost. If the king wants to protect the rook, he has to go here, but then I play rook a7 and I get him behind, and yeah, the position is just done. He played rook f8 and then he resigned. I mean, he realized he had dropped the pawn on the rook on e6. So yeah, I won the final game as well, and the tournament had come to an end. It was a bit of a bittersweet event. I started okay. The first day it went half out of 3. The second day was tough. I played the top 3 seeds, but I scored 1.5 out of 3, which was decent. Now still in the running coming into today. The disastrous first game on the third day, the round 7 loss, yeah, was very damaging. So, but I mean, I still had a good last 2 games, both wins. So it kind of watered down the effect. So I went home feeling not too badly about the tournament as a whole. At the end of the day, let me pull up the standings. I placed 3rd. Like you can see, International Master Kwanda won and is the current national champion. Congratulations to him. Kandi Master Joseph Jamna Mensah placed 2nd, and I came in 3rd. I even won a bit of rating somehow, like 6 or so. So yeah, all in all, it was a decent first outing at the nationals. I mean, very valuable experience if nothing else. And I do look forward to next year's event. Hopefully I play better than this one. So thank you very much for joining me on this journey. It was fun to play and fun to record the videos as well. It was quite long though, and I should say in future tournament coverage, I'll probably take some notable games rather than go through every single game. It became a bit of work in the middle there somewhere. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Drop a comment, leave a like, all the good stuff. Enjoy your chess. Catch you later.